Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Grandmaster Shaymin, and today we're going on to another episode of Fatal 12. I have no idea what episode we're on, but in the last episode, things got really intense as the seeds were planted between Alan and Odette. We got to see the first fight between the two of them, and things got pretty intense. So if you missed that, make sure to go back and watch that, as we are now hiding in Shingetsugu's room. The three of us, of course. Shingetsugu's explaining to the police, and Alan seems to be willing to compromise in this situation. There's something surreal about me, number 4, and Alan all hiding in a room together like this. The fact that Alan has agreed to it proves I'm right. He's avoiding the police. I figured he was a monster before, but his fight with number 11 made it all the more clear. His skills have nothing to do with him being a man or his massive build. I'm willing to bet he could take an armed officer and win. But even he doesn't want to turn the entire police force against him. Things seem to have sorted themselves out somehow. Shingetsugu comes to rescue us from the suffocating silence. I'll be taking my leave then. Oh, and here I was about to heat up some curry. Did you want some? Yeah, I've been hungry ever since I got up. Are you serious? He was a bit rough on me, but hey, he did help us out in the end. I'm sure you wouldn't mind if he gets a taste of your curry. A bit rough? Never you mind. Here, take this. He removes the leftovers from the fridge and pours it all in a pot before Alan even gets the chance to answer. Common Kuramam Turmeric. Not bad. I will accept. What? Yo, this is so funny though. This giant ass mountain of a dude that tried to murder a fucking child is now kind of a ally of sorts, eating curry with the main character in the kitchen. What a long way we have come. He takes a seat at the table as expressionless as ever. As much as I want to flee right away, I'm a bit too concerned right now. So number 12 isn't a baddie? Not for now. Really? But you're a participant too, aren't you? Indeed. So why'd you protect Shingetsugu? I didn't. Our interests just happened to align. Interests? Indeed. I don't know what that means, but I don't care as long as you're not a baddie. What matters is that you're gonna love this curry. It's awesome. I see. Oh, and I start to panic as I listen to the painful exchange. The lack of emotion on Alan's face makes it impossible to tell if he'll explode over number 4 acting overly friendly. This is so funny. It's like one of those like really buff guys and they're like little 8-year-old son or daughter. This is exactly what it seems like, even though Alan's just kind of ridiculous in the first place. What would possess the old man to take in such a runt? A runt? I'm referring to you. He found me on the street and decided to take me in because I have amnesia or something. I see. Your body must remember how to carry itself if you were able to fend off number 3 in such condition. I don't think you should have said that. I'm surprised by how readily he diverges such critical info. Alan may not be his enemy for now, but that's no reason to go and tell him everything. Just use Aaron. I wasn't sure how to address him, but he wasted no time in providing a fake name. He must be aware that I know his true name. I mean, you almost said it. Scorpion, son. I consider doing the same, but I'll leave it alone until he asks. What are you planning to do next, Aaron? I think we should leave that discussion for after we eat. Shingetsugu butts in as he brings the curry over. He's gone immediately. He only carries 2 plates since neither him nor I will be having any. Come on, guys. This is basic grammar. If you take the other person out of the sentence, it should still make sense. Since me will be having any. No, it's since I will not be having any. We'll switch not for nor. or I will be having any. Same, same. Alan nods in response to that proposition. While I think about it, Alan's from India. Knowing that someone from the land of curry is about to eat my rendition of it makes me a touch nervous. It's so good! My gut sinks the moment he takes a bite. There's a huge I like how she's worried, like, oh man, this guy that I've feared and that tried to kill a child! I will not let that go. Tried to kill a baby, and now she's worried over the fact that he may or may not like her cooking. There's a huge contrast between the slow, disinterested way he eats in comparison to number 4 wolfing his down. Wait, why am I nervous at all? That's a good question. I never expected the similarities to go this far. Yo, he's smiling! He's smiling! Wait a second, dude. Alan's kind of a dick. He threatened to kill a child, which I will never let go, but, I mean, he's smiling. Maybe he's not the worst person in the entire world. Why does he want to live so bad, anyway? When I noticed he said something, my eyes met his. My family once bought some curry root from Japan out of curiosity. Your family, like your wife? He glares at me in response. Is this how you fish for information? Maybe. I honestly didn't mean anything by it, though. I see. Well, if it's public knowledge that I'm not... It's public knowledge that I'm not married. When I say family, I refer to a relative. Thanks for the food! The tension has disappeared thanks to that outburst. I'm so glad he has no idea how to read between the lines. I never expected Alan to talk about his family, though. That's pretty normal for most people, but somehow I thought he was one of those rare sorts who had no attachment to them. That aside, I assume he didn't think the curry tasted bad since he didn't say anything about it. Is it so odd for me to use a spoon? No, of course not. The thought hadn't even crossed my mind. Thinking about it, I guess I always do imagine people from India eating curry without utensils. What? Well, chopsticks are still utensils, aren't they? So, what curry. Definitely just downs that shit. I guess they only do that when eating it with naan. But he's eating Japanese curry. I don't think about it until he brings it up. The look on his face as he asks, though, it's so meek, I can't help but bursting out in laughter. I see. Japan has a narrow-minded view of my home country. That's not what I'm laughing at. He seems a little peeved, judging by his tone of voice. My nerves, coupled with the fact that he always seems impossible to read, make it harder for me to hold back my laughter. He eventually brushes me off, and he hands number 4 his plate and spoon to be taken to the sink. Not long after, Shingetsugu makes tea for all 4 of us. Alan takes a whiff of the tea before switching his cup with Shingetsugu's before taking a sip. His face contorts immediately. I can't tell if it's an issue with Shingetsugu's so-called blend or Japanese tea in general, but it's more expressive than I expected. Meanwhile, number 4 is rolling his head around on the table out of boredom until Alan breaks the silence. Shingetsugu, I find your name somewhat difficult to pronounce, but regardless, it goes without saying what I'm here for. What is it, that introduction? You could have just left that part out. It makes no sense in this context. You know, your name is hard to pronounce, but anyway, I'm here for something. You know what it is, right? Shingetsugu, I find your name hard to pronounce. Okay. You have your eyes on my information, correct? Indeed. My intent is to eliminate all of you here, but I'm willing to settle for less at the moment. Well, color me surprised. Here I was expecting you to threaten all of us into giving you what you wanted. The child mentioned having amnesia. Should that hold true, I see nothing coming from doing so. That applies to you, too. I have no evidence, but my gut is telling me that you have no recollection of your own cards either. Wow, he is good at making these deductions. I'd only be putting myself at a disadvantage by being rash. Amazing how he can say that after what he pulled with Keiko. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You tried to murder a child! God damn it. He thinks number 4 is a girl. It proves that even he makes mistakes. Shingetsugu said that Alan's actions seemed desperate. I feel like that applies even more with what he did to Keiko. However, I'm surprised that not knowing the contents of my own cards could work out for me like this. As for Alan's comment, number 4 is the first to respond. Hang on a minute. That means you want to eliminate Shingetsugu. I won't let that happen. You're a baddie from here on... Calm down. Pray tell, what do you plan on doing should I refuse to cooperate? You likely know the answer. I have no intention of leaving empty-handed. I knew it. Let me at him. No, I don't want to see you two hurt each other. Besides, you would go after her first, wouldn't you? Ah, so he's playing along with it. He's playing along with it and saying her. That's smart, actually. Wouldn't you, Aron? I doubt that. I'm ready to take my escape whenever necessary, but I doubt even I could reach the... Oh, he's talking about Rinka. Oh, shit. I'm ready to do my escape route whenever necessary, but I doubt even I could manage to reach the hall safely before Alan target me for real. I could negotiate with him thanks to the info I have on Shingetsugu, but right now I'd much rather maintain the status quo. I'm fine with revealing my information to you, but only on one condition. What would that be? I want you to serve as our bodyguard until my elimination. Your job would be to help keep the house safe, especially from number 11. In simpler terms, I ask that you protect both myself and this child. Let's assume I agree to your terms. How do you plan on dealing with the other issue? He casts his gaze over on me. Fine, I'll refrain from electing him if you agree. Rinka's probably like, oh, thank God I don't have to elect him. Oh, man, I couldn't kill him. Oh, man. Fine, I'll refrain from electing him if you agree to go along with this. Why even bother? Shingetsugu doesn't need anyone but me to protect him. The kid's visibly flustered, but it's Alan who opts to respond. Are you that delusional? What's that supposed to mean? Shingetsugu proposes this to avoid putting you in harm's way. It's for me? I'm not the only one who caught on to that, huh? You wouldn't happen to have a family you're close to, would you? I will not qualify that with a response. Is he right, Shingetsugu? Of course he is. Strong as you may be, that doesn't seem to any less distressing to see you get hurt. But if I beat him up, then... Don't overestimate yourself. You may be a child, but I would hold nothing back if I fought you. The chances of something happening to you are just too high, but there's a couple of things wrong with that. One, they can't die. So I mean, yes, they could probably get severely injured. That would kind of suck. But they can't die. And two, dude, this kid beat number 3 and number 11 in a tag 2-on-1 handicap match. I'm just saying. Like, the kid's strong as hell. And considering that number 11 and 12 went head-to-head, honestly, I think number 4 could probably hold their own. It's clear that Shingetsugu sees him as family. There's a direct parallel to what he's saying now in Keiko's actions from when Alan took her son hostage. Alan's face is expressionless as ever, so I can't tell if he's created this situation on purpose or if it's mere coincidence. Shingetsugu, I figured you'd be happy if I took down all the baddies for you. If you really want to protect me, then why don't you take all their cards? For the same reason I don't want you fighting others. It's not as simple as you think. Save the argument for later. I'm willing to accept your first condition, but only if you provide a room for me to stay in. He clarifies his reasoning after seeing Shingetsugu's surprise. I haven't the luxury of doing as I please here, so being provided with somewhere to stay for a few days in exchange isn't a bad deal. Of course, well, I'll need you to accept my second condition as well. I'm aware. Whatever. Number 4 stands up mid-conversation, almost in deliberate attempt to interrupt them. I don't care anymore. Hey! He leaves the room immediately. Alan doesn't seem fazed, but the same can't be said about Shingetsugu. Pardon me, could you give us a moment? There's no reason to worry about his safety on the streets at night, but it's entirely possible he could start something with the police if they approach him. Leaving Alan here by himself is a bit too risky, though. It's pretty scary to sit here all alone with him, but I stayed behind regardless. Good grief. I have to admit, you struck me as far less reasonable person. Looks like I might have misjudged you. I see. Perhaps buying time through conversation isn't my best idea, since I'm not good at it. and he makes a point to say as little as possible. That's interesting, though. You know, because you can't really blame the boy for his response. I mean, he doesn't want Shingetsugu to die uh, and be left here by himself, but he knows that Shingetsugu won't let him fight. 10 minutes pass and not a single word is exchanged. Alan sits silent. The only action of his is when he blinks. I thought I'd be okay, but it's starting to get to me. Rinka, I have a question for you. Yeah? He's so abrupt that I struggle not to jump out of my skin. What exactly is your goal here? Your actions don't strike me as someone who wants to live through this ordeal. I can't say he's wrong. I never even stopped going to school after divine selection began. Not like he knows that. I mean, he does, but he's likely basing his claim off the way I'm involved myself with other participants. In all honesty, I'm not even sure how I ended up in this situation myself. Well, it all started... Okay. But what I do know is that it's all due to my own judgment. As often as I question how much my life is worth, I never once resigned to the idea that I'd be fine with getting eliminated. When I put all that together, it's easy to answer his question. I want to live. I want to make it through this. My actions may seem roundabout from your viewpoint, but this is just me staying true to who I am. I'm sure of it. These may be extraordinary circumstances, but I'm not built to adapt to them. Average is all I know. I'm easily influenced and prone to sticking my nose into what I shouldn't. That's just who I am. That's what defines Shishimai Rinka. I shouldn't have bothered to ask. The look in your eyes at the hospital told me all I needed. Maybe it's my imagination, but I think I see him throw a faint smile as he says that. Look at him smile! He's so proud of Rinka. He actually sees Rinka as, like, someone of interest. In that case, I look forward to seeing how far that mindset can take you. For now, there's little point in pressing you for information that you have no memory of. Who told you that? It's logical to assume that you forgot the contents of your own cards along with the rules of divine selection. Fair enough. Perhaps not knowing your cause of death or regret is making it easier for you to act the way that you do. The same goes for that child. That's definitely true. Participants like that have little choice but focus on eliminating others to learn about themselves. It was really obvious that I'd forgotten everything about divine selection during my first visit to the Court of Fate, especially after my discussion with Miharu and needing Parka to explain things over from scratch. Had he taken the possibility that I forgot my own cards into consideration ever since? Did you agree with Shingetsugu's turns in hopes of finding out more about the kid? I didn't, but now that you mention it, that does make for a decent plan. Rinka, you gotta keep your mouth shut! That one seems the type to reveal important information when one least expects it. Perhaps even while asleep. Damn! This guy is good. Considering the amnesia, dreams can be the bridge between memories buried deep within the person's psyche. That may be a bit too convenient, but your point still stands. Cutting the conversation off while he seems wise. The last thing I want is for him to somehow extract information about Miharu from me. She set it up so everyone thinks that we had a falling out, but at this rate, I might end up spilling the beans of that and more. Setting that aside, I'm surprised he agreed to Shingetsugu's terms so quick. Assuming what he said is true, then it isn't just because he sees value in doing so. There's more to it. He let his emotions take the wheel. From that, I can tell. Not like I'll ever say that to his face. They took their time getting back. Huh? Footsteps from the entrance. Feel free to check if you want. I have no intention of breaking my promise, so I'll remain here. He's right. I hear noises coming from the entrance. I make my way over to welcome them back. 5 or so minutes after he began the search, Shingetsugu found the person he was looking for on his way back home. So this is where you went, you. Ah. It's hard to run away when you don't have any memories of other places to go. Shingetsugu referred to number 4 as you, but that wasn't his real name. It was a name Shingetsugu gave the boy upon their first encounter. Do you hate me now? Of course not. Why are you okay with getting eliminated? You know you'll die, right? You know that I'll be all alone, right? Is it because we're not really family?
Even real families aren't guaranteed to stay together forever, I'm afraid.
He sat in solemn gaze up at the night sky as he spoke. Having lost his wife far too soon, Shingetsugu spent his days battling loneliness. Meanwhile, his son got married soon, after graduating college and getting hired into a financing company. Shingetsugu got along with his daughter-in-law at first, but things changed when she became pregnant. Perhaps it was more accurate to say that Shingetsugu changed. Knowing a baby was on the way, both made the decision to move out. Shingetsugu's son was gradually moving up in the corporate ladder, so it felt like the right time to go. And that was when Shingetsugu's battle with loneliness reached its zenith. The stress it caused him led to outbursts of violence. His attitude took a drastic turn, and he became more stubborn over the most minor of things. He would complain about his daughter-in-law's cooking for no reason. His actions eventually led them to their hastened departure from Shingetsugu's home. The loneliness and self-hatred that followed changed him even more. They did get back in touch years later, but nothing ever came of it. Shingetsugu's issues eventually led him to gambling, which he used as a means to distract himself. This, in turn, led him to racking up more and more debt to the point that it almost affected his son's family. It was that when they cut all ties with him. Years later, he visited their home, only to find no one was living there. They had just up and vanished. Perhaps they thought about the exact same about Shingetsugu, considering how little contact he made with the outside world. Oh, right. You told me about what happened.
That was all on me in the end, but you opted to stay with me even after hearing my story. You may have nowhere else to go, but it's clear that you weren't hoping to use me for your own interests.
Interest? I don't know what that means, but sure. I'm staying here because I like being with you. I like going to see the horses and boats and all that stuff too. The biggest reason is that you gave me somewhere to belong. Just being here helps keep my mind off my own amnesia. Over a month has passed since Divine Selection began. Both Shingetsugu and you had spent the majority of that time together. To others, their relationship may be fundamentally flawed. To Shingetsugu, however, their relationship was that of a true family.
No matter what the others may think, you are family to me.
Same here, you were my one and only family. There's no preface for his statement. For you, the present took precedence over his lost memories. His words were proof of that.
But it doesn't change the reality that I will die, though. You young'uns may have your lives cut short by one of fate's pranks, but that isn't true for me. Even if my back hadn't given out that day, I didn't have much time left. That's why the only thing I desired was to spend as much time with you as possible. It's a simple desire, but one that can't compare to that of younger people giving it their all to survive.
I don't know what you mean, Shingetsugu. This stuff is too complicated for me.
What I'm saying is it's up to you to decide how you live your life from here on.
It's up to me?
Indeed. Even if you have the slightest desire to live, then do everything you can to make it through Divine Selection. If you lack that desire, then I won't stop you.
You can't make me choose like that.
I'm afraid you have no choice. My elimination is a matter of days.
I don't wanna lose you. Yu was getting more upset as the conversation carried on. Shingetsugu, on the other hand, remained as calm as ever.
Naming you may have been a mistake when I think about it. I'm not sure if your amnesia had any effect on the outcome, but I never expected a card to form from my doing so.
Really?
Not knowing the contents of your own cards was your greatest asset, and yet my actions ruined it.
No, they didn't. They made me happy. You gave me a name when I couldn't remember my own.
I'm glad to hear it. In that case, I only have one wish for you.
Wait, so a card formed when he named him Yu, which means that that's like the only name that he has right now, right? So that's like the kind of the same thing as Miharu in that sense. To him, he's Yu, so that's what he's going to go by.
I won't tell you to press on and live if that's not what you want. However, I don't want you to understand the joy of providing something for another.
Much like how he had given Yu his name. Not only his name, but also a place to call home.
I'll be able to pass something on that I received from you, too.
I've given you something? I don't remember doing that.
You have. I don't get it. I'm trying to understand, but I just can't.
Work towards understanding it then. Once you do, you'll be able to share in my joy. Shingetsugu rested his hand on Yu's head before petting it. His words and actions were cheerful despite the context of their conversation. Meanwhile, Yu was unable to find his answer. He had not accepted his reality. At the same time, that state of mind made him all the more susceptible to what Shingetsugu had to say. So eventually he came to understand what was about to transpire. Ushizuka Shingetsugu was going to die, and there was absolutely nothing he could do about it. I happened to overhear their conversation. I don't intend to, but that's no excuse. I don't catch the entire thing. Only the one important detail doesn't slip by me. You. The moment Shingetsugu called number 4 that, my book began to glow. The resulting card contains nothing but these 2 letters. I'm glad Alan wasn't nearby when it happened. Things only get more complicated if any of them learn that I know his name. You. I repeat the name to myself. Oh my god, she has all 3 of his cards! His regret, she got the card from that. She already has his... Oh my god, she has all 3 of his cards. Will she eliminate him, and then Alan will eliminate the old man? Oh no. I figured that Shingetsugu had given him a name, but I never expected that one to be the name on his card. This would have been far more difficult to believe if I hadn't had that conversation with Miharu about one's perception of one's name. What did Shingetsugu have in mind when naming him that, though? Surely there's some meaning behind it. It doesn't matter. I've somehow ended up with all 3 of Yu's cards. I don't have it in me to elect either of them now. If Alan elects Shingetsugu, logic dictates that I elect Yu. I try my best to convince myself that that's what I need to do, but it's not easy. God damn, okay. They would go out together, that'd be rough. We make our way back to the living room and I meet them at the entrance. Another conversation starts up once we've all gathered, but it dies off pretty fast.
Apologies for the wait.
I've said my piece already, so it's fine. Give me a room and I'm satisfied.
No need to worry, I'll do just that.
Ellipses. Yu still isn't happy about the scenario, but regardless, the conversation is over. Knowing that, I decide to make my way back home, albeit far later than planned.
Number 11 might have her eye on you as well.
Yeah.
Although she probably will target me first. Settling the score tends to take priority for people like her. I'm not the only participant she'd want to do so with, of course, but there's no need to be concerned. I plan on keeping my end of the bargain. I am so stunned by his apparent concern for me that I struggle to find a way to respond. What is with this guy? First he threatens to kill a baby. See, this is what I'm talking about. She has the same thought. First he tries to kill a baby without any hesitation, and then he agrees to Shingetsugu's turns that don't entirely benefit him, and now he's worrying about my safety? Goodbye, and thanks for dinner. I don't think I'll ever forget how delicious it was. Thanks. There's still some left, so go ahead and heat it up when you're hungry. Allow me to see you off.
That's when I make my way out of the living room. You didn't need to leave the house with me. Now I feel bad. Shingetsugu follows me outside rather than seeing me off at the entrance. It's uncommon for us to be together. He probably figured it out. Oh my god, she said him. That was your mistake, Rinka. Can I ask what your plans are for you if you get eliminated?
That's quite the naughty habit you have there.
Sorry, I did that on purpose. You gave him that name, didn't you?
I did. He may be a kind child, but he's also a courageous one. The pronunciation of you sounds both Japanese and foreign, doesn't it? I must admit that I never expected a card to result from it.
This is speculation on my part, but it seems each participant's own personal perception holds a sizable influence over their cards.
Allow me to answer your question, though.
I nod my head, urging him to continue.
I have around 1 million yen stowed away from him to use as he sees fit.
My first reaction was to look around after recovering from my own shock. I'm worried about any lurking burglars overhearing him, but I guess anyone sneaking into that house is in far more danger than those already inside. Yeah, true that.
There's plenty to get him through the remaining 2 months of divine selection. It's not my place to dictate what he does afterwards. But if his memories return, then he should have enough to return home, assuming he doesn't spend it all first, of course.
How did you make that much money?
There's plenty of ways to do so. I gathered up as much as I could find in the house and sold off everything of value for one. He mentioned before that his pension and benefits were his only sources of income right now. He talked about being in debt as well, so I could only assume he went through some shady dealings to gather up that amount. Knowing he did it for you's sake made it hard for me to judge him for it, though. It is pretty difficult, I tell you, especially when they froze my bank account and I had already used up my savings. You saw how messy my house is, no? I turned the place upside down looking for things to sell, but I couldn't find it in me to clean it up afterwards. That explains the... I slapped my hands over my mouth and I realized what I'm about to say. It might be the truth, but it's still rude to say such a thing out loud. Oh, don't worry about it. There's no need to be concerned for you to be concerned about him. He lets out a heartfelt laugh. I couldn't find the humor in it, though, so I just nod. Well then, I guess I'll see you in the dream world. Thanks for everything. Come now, I should be the one thanking you. He shuffles back into the house. That's how it should be. Things are looking good for me right now. Even so, I make my way home with a knot in my heart. Well, what is she going to do? Is she going to be able to eliminate you, or is she going to let him live? Especially not knowing that you is her murderer, or at least greatly involved in her murder. But either way, thank you all for watching. Make sure you click that like button down below for me because you already know your support is greatly appreciated. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and stay tuned for the next episode of Fatal 12 as things get pretty intense.